Good evening. This is John Bailey. This is People to Be Heard, the program where people with something to say have their say. Tonight, you've got Janet Langsam. Janet Langsam of the Westchester Arts Council, now ArtsWestchester. She is CEO of the organization, and she has been with them for more than 20 years, growing it from a $1 million agency to where it is today. She came to us from the Boston Center for the Arts, where she was president and CEO. She has worked with some of the legendary New York administrations, New York City administrations, as community organizer in the John Lindsay administration, as first Deputy Commissioner of Community Affairs under Mayor Abraham Beame, and helped establish the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs as a separate city agency. Working in the Ed Koch administration, she acquired funds through the CDBG and CETA funds to help cultural organizations. And welcome to the program, and thank you for coming on. I'm with Peter Katz, of course, my partner. Right. So let's start off. What was the state of the arts in Westchester County when you arrived?
I would say the state of the arts was in a slump.
Mm-hmm.
When I arrived, what was called the Council for the Arts in Westchester was in terrible financial condition. There were draconian measures talked about. There were cuts to some of the cultural organizations. There was talk about canceling our arts news publication. So things were, pretty dire in the early 90s.
So how did you turn things around so quickly?
Quickly? I've been there 20 years, so that's not very quick. But I think a number of measures. There's a tremendous respect and loyalty for the cultural community in Westchester, among business and among the public, and I think getting the message out is one piece. I think that the county has over time become more generous, recognizing the enormous economic impact of the cultural community. Starting out, we had to do some cutbacks, which were painful. But over time, I think that we've become more visible. We've gotten our message out a little better. And the county government has been responsive.
And yet, when it comes to making cutbacks in budgets at the government level, the arts always seem to be the whipping boy. Why is that?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I wish I knew why that was. It isn't just in terms of the cultural institutions. It's also in terms of the schools, unfortunately. And much of the gap in arts education in the schools, as you know, Peter, has been taken up by the cultural organizations with, very few additional resources. I don't mean to say that every school district has cut the arts, but I think that a substantial number of school districts find that as a way to balance their budget.
And yet, even in hard times, you manage to get hundreds of people to spend big bucks to come to an annual gala. You've done things in airplane hangars. You've done it in hotels, as people tend to do with galas and things. You've done it in lobbies of buildings, and yet the arts still seem to take a hit. Why? How do you explain that?
I can't explain it. I really can't. I wish I could. I think that people in Westchester enjoy the arts. I think that the audience for the arts has grown. I think that business has somewhat cut back on the arts for what they perceive to be more needy areas of funding. I can't explain why the arts seem to be an easy target, because the arts are such a good thing in helping mental health clients, in helping youth, in helping senior citizens in the community. The arts have such a healthy and wonderful effect across the board. I don't know why we can't get that message out better.
But yet you managed to get the message out, and compared with other organizations, you're doing exceptionally well. You're the Westchester Arts Council, as I have come to call it over many, many years, is somehow golden. You stand out even when other arts organizations are failing. How do you explain that?
I don't know.
Is that you? Is that what you've brought to the organization?
Well,
is it the way you've restructured things? Is it the programs that you do?
Well, let me put it this way. First of all, it's very kind of you to say that, and I really appreciate that. I can't tell you that it's me, but I think during my time there, I've probably put a little more emphasis on getting the word out. So, for example, since I have been there, we have done 4 economic impact studies to show people in the community the importance of the arts on an economic basis. The good news is that the arts do have meaning to corporations in terms of wanting to locate here in Westchester. I don't mean that it's the only reason that they locate, but if they're thinking between 2 locations, why not go to a location where there's a rich cultural life for their employees? So we've tried to get the message out, 1, that the arts have an economic impact that's growing, 2, that we are jobs in this county. There are almost 5,000 jobs that are created in Westchester because of the arts. The other message that we try to get out is that through the employment and taxes and so on, that the arts community is giving back almost $25 million to state and local governments. So, this kind of thing helps in bringing people up to date and current with the arts versus expenditures in other areas.
Well, you've made the arts in Westchester highly visible, because you managed to convince a bank to give you, in almost an unprecedented move, a building downtown on the main street in the capital of Westchester County. How were you able to pull that one off?
I don't know. Just sheer passionate feeling about the arts. I've worked in 2 cities, New York City and
Boston and White Plains.
And
that's
White
3
Plains.
cities.
But when this building, first of all, I feel very strongly that the arts belong in a downtown. That, and we were lucky. The downtown was being revitalized. Our board felt that it should not be revitalized without the arts somehow in there. And we did take an unprecedented step in purchasing that building. It wasn't given to us right away. We purchased the building, and we bid, at the time, we were bidding against Tishman Speyer, and we knew that if we didn't bid high enough, that we just wouldn't get the building. So we bit the bullet, and we bid $1.2 million for the building. We won the bid, and ultimately Chase was very generous to us in giving us a mortgage that the clock didn't start on for 5 years. So we had 5 years to work the scene, and that was how it happened, and it was very lucky. Lucky for the community, for sure, and for Arts Westchester.
It's one of the few galleries now that White
Yes.
Plains has.
Yes.
Yeah, because you always have an exhibition of sorts. In fact, you have one now, the
We-
hats.
Yeah, it's a
hats
wonderful
deal,
exhibit. We have about 200 hats of all kinds, couturier hats and ceremonial hats, church ladies' hats, headpieces worn by the Muslim community. It's a really very fun show. And
down
And
328 Manhattan.
occasionally you have music events
We have
there.
music
you
events.
have fundraising events in
do.
the lobby there.
we do.
How much work had to go into setting up the building to make it useful for the Arts Council?
The building was a mess. I mean, we bought it as is. Oh my God, there were. First of all, the elevators were not modernized. The heating system, it was difficult. But we raised probably some $7 million. At the time, the county also was able to give not-for-profits access to the IDA, the Industrial Development Agency, and so we were able to get a very substantial loan to be able to take care of, heat, light, electric, elevators. And still we're working on some of the more cosmetic, the bathrooms are old. But we got a lot of help from a lot of different people. I remember we had a board member who was the general manager of the Crowne Plaza Hotel, and she said, "What could I do to help?" And the hallways, the stairways were, really terrible looking. And given the fact that the elevators weren't working so well, we needed the stairways. So she donated paint and painters and painted the stair. So we've been doing it, as best we can.
Is it your experience that people will just pitch in and do what's necessary for an organization such as yours?
I think so. I mean, I think people like to be engaged in something, like to feel that they're making a difference. And, I think it's that way with most good people. I mean, you and your wife have started this pet pantry.
She did. I didn't
Well,
start
she
it.
did, but still.
But you
I
love
help out a
you
little
love
bit,
the
yeah.
pet food.
But recognizing that there's a need in the community, I'm sure that people who love dogs are contributing, and I think it's that way with the arts. People who love the arts are trying to help us, and let's face it, people who love White Plains are happy to have the arts here, accessible to them.
If people want to see what they can do for the Westchester Arts, they should call you, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think people want to see us succeed, and so they pitch in, and that's great.
Do you find you have to spend most of your time on business aspects and schmoozing politicians and the never-ending need to raise money, or can you devote a lot of your efforts to artistic aspects of the organization?
You know what? It's a 24/7. I spend a lot of time on both aspects of the organization. I mean, if we were big enough, we took a big hit during the recent fiscal crisis. Our budget had grown to almost $4.5 million. We've shrunk about $1 million during this past 5-year period, and that's hurt. But I think we saw it coming, and we cut staff, we furloughed staff. We did the things that we had to do prospectively.
Well, are you in for a long haul of belt tightening, or are things starting to turn around for you?
I think things are getting a little bit better. I mean, I can't really see beyond the hill, but we're almost 50 years old. We will be 50 years in 2015. And that gives us an opportunity to highlight the organization, the work we've done. We fund all of the arts in Westchester County, and it's given us an opportunity, to shout out about the good things we do.
There may not be people who know exactly what
we
do. But you support financially just about every other organization.
Yes, we do. We do. We raise money. We advocate at the county level and the state level for funds. We distribute funds to the organizations, and we do it based on the quality of their programs and also the fineness of their administration. And so we are a funder. We're also a promoter of the arts. I'm sure you've noticed that the New York Times Westchester section is no longer the Westchester section. It is the metropolitan section. And shrinking, little by little, there's less written about the arts in Westchester in the New York Times, even though probably they have 150,000 subscriptions in this county. So one of the things we've put a priority on is our web presence, our arts news publication. We send out an e-blast once a week, Arts This Week, so people know what's going on. You know from your experience in the arts that there are two sides of the ledger. One is the contributed income that organizations get, and the other is the earned income. Okay? Well, if they don't have any way to talk about their productions or exhibitions, who's going to come? So we've taken on the job. I mean, we're a little organization, little engine that could, but we've taken on to some extent the job of getting the word out so that the organizations also are able to get out the word about what good things they're doing.
And what is the state of the arts organizations across the county today? Are there more theaters, more play groups, more studios, or are there less? Have we seen a decrease?
I don't think there's been a decrease. I think that always there are some small organizations that will come and go. By and large, I think everybody's been hurt by the economic conditions of the last 5 years. On the other hand, prior to that, we've seen Jacob Burns Film Center come into being and do very well, filling a gap in, what was available here in Westchester. There's a Pelham Picture House that came into existence. So on the one hand, we've lost some good organizations, and on the other hand, there have been some other organizations that have come into being, and happily so.
Over the years, is there one particular success that your organization has had that makes you especially proud?
I would say, if I had to pick one thing, it was the All Fired Up program that we did. We were able to get some funding and involve all of the affiliates in a clay exposition that was county-wide, and we had 70 organizations showing ceramics. And that gave us the opportunity to highlight, the whole richness of organizations and galleries across the county. Don't forget, Westchester is very spread out. It's not like you're walking down Fifth Avenue and there's the Met, and next door, a couple of blocks away is the Guggenheim. There's no critical mass here. So being able to do something that's sort of inclusive of all of the organizations is difficult.
Well, would a central arts facility, say a Lincoln Center type operation, work here in Westchester? Or by necessity, does Westchester have to be little pockets of things?
I think it's probably part of our DNA that we are spread out. I mean, if you look at how some of the organizations were developed. Caramore, for example, was an estate given to a not-for-profit, Lyndhurst, the Hudson River Museum. A lot of the institutions were begun in odd ways, by a gift of land or a gift of a house, or so that's how it grew. I don't know about a Lincoln Center. I think that was tried some years ago. Doesn't mean that it shouldn't be tried again, but I think it's kind of nice that you get to explore different parts of the county. We do a free arts day, for example, where we ask the organizations to open their doors free. And it's kind of nice, to get a taste of the different arts in the different communities. So we have a robust arts scene. It needs support, both contributed support and ticket support.
Has national funding been difficult? I know the NEA used to be reasonably generous, and from being out of it, I don't know exactly what they have been able to offer, but has the national funding dried up?
Pretty much so. The NEA, in this year's budget, although Obama had asked for some $175 million, the NEA is going to be $146 million, which is a little bit down from its best year. The NEA has never been able to grow out of an under $200 million agency. And while it's wonderful to have the imprimatur of the NEA on a program that you do, they have fewer and fewer funds and many, many more cities and organizations that are reaching out.
Is that true
to them.
At the state level also?
The state level has suffered as well. The New York State Council on the Arts is now at about, I think, $39 million, down from a high. At its highest level was about $58 million, I think. And we should have more money available. I mean, one of the things that's happened on the state level, and as being involved in a small organization, a lot of money was contributed by legislators through member items. Now, I know member items have sort of a
bad press, so to speak.
Bad press.
Yes.
That's a good way to put it, John. On the other hand, legislators really supported their arts, the arts in their communities through member items. And it is too bad that they got a bad rap for it. That's a source of funding that has gone away. And unfortunately, that source of funding has not gone into the New York State Council for the Arts pot, so that could, be distributed in a somewhat more equitable way, but yet kept the amount of money. I don't know if I'm making sense here.
No, it makes sense to me. Having been involved in it with an arts organization for some years, but
the point is, there's less and less money.
Well, there was a time though when you would lead bus caravans up to Albany, and arrange
I still do
to lobby.
When's the next one?
We don't call it lobbying; we call it advocating.
Advocate, okay.
But yes, we go up to Albany. What's happened on the state level, again, is that the arts are not the major thrust. It's not hard to blame anybody for it. There are issues such as the pre-K education, which we think is a good thing and we think should be funded. The state
and shouldn't arts be part of that?
I would hope so.
You could have them draw in the pre-K.
Look, there are places where the arts can be very, very prominent.
Yes.
You talk about pre-K. That is what is a child's first way of learning? By pictures, by movement, by sound. So yes, the arts can be fundamental to a pre-K program, and I hope it will be. We have a huge project in the bridge being built here. The arts should be part of that. Look at the High Line in New York City, where they took an old railway
Yes, an elevated line.
elevated line, and made it into a in the air park with arts projects there. So I'm hoping that someone listening to this program will say, "Oh, that's a good idea. Let's call the Arts Westchester and get artists involved somehow in making that that bridge from Rockland to Westchester
Is there
a bridge of the arts
Are you
too."
going to make an effort to re-involve corporations more in giving to the arts?
We
How are
are.
you going to do that?
Well, we have announced that we want to build 50 new business partnerships for our 50th anniversary. So far, we've got 11. We've got new partners, 11 new partners, one of which is Regeneron. We're very grateful to them. Another is Aetna. So we're working very hard on finding ways to involve corporations. Some of the corporations love to invite us to put art in their lobbies, and we ask them to donate to us for doing that. We have a new partnership with the Westchester Medical Center, where we are purchasing the work of local artists and putting them in, of all things, infusion center, radiology. So we're trying to support the artists in Westchester in that way.
And your website is?
ArtsWestchester.org.
All right, and you can find out more about how you can help by going there. And Janet Langsam, CEO of Arts Westchester, you have been heard. John Bailey for Peter Katz. Good night.